Hello, this is Paul from debatetheleft.com. In Europe, politicians have been thinking about how to respond to the burqa. Do we have to criticize it? Or do we have to ban it? I think this conversation should not just be held about the burqa, but about Islamic headscarves in general. Let's take a look at what an Islamic headscarf actually means, because an Islamic headscarf is actually a political symbol that stands for a certain political idea. And what this idea is can be traced back to the books of Islam, which are the Quran, the Sirah and the Hadith. And the idea is that women are dirty and inferior and therefore need to cover themselves up. There is no misunderstanding about the very negative meaning of the Islamic headscarf. According to the Center for the Study of Political Islam, only 5.3% of the total body of Islamic literature is positive about women. 23% is neutral about women, in the sense that they are at least not demonized like in the remaining part, and a staggering 71% of the total body of Islamic literature is negative about women. In the parts of the Islamic literature that are positive about women, she simply plays the role of a mother. And if you are unclean, purify yourselves. And if you are sick or on a journey, or one of you commits from the closet, or you have had contact with women and you can't find water, then go to a clean high ground and rub your faces and your hands with some of it. So you probably get the general idea of what Islam thinks about women. The idea that women are dirty and inferior is constantly being expressed into the public space of European countries. Europe is a part of the Western world. In fact, Europe started the Western world. So in Europe, men and women are equal, and women are not dirty and inferior. The idea that women are dirty and inferior is a very offensive, nonsensical, and backward idea. But this idea is constantly being expressed into the public space in Europe. Let's take the following example as a point of comparison. And please understand that I don't use this example to be provocative, but instead to make a point that should be easy to understand. This is John, and John is wearing a swastika. The swastika is a symbol for a certain set of ideas, which John, by wearing this symbol, then expresses into the public space. The set of ideas that this symbol stands for can be traced back to the ideology of Nazism, which can be found in the book Mein Kampf. Now, without going too deep into the ideology of Nazism, the Nazi swastika roughly stands for the idea that the so-called Aryan race is superior to other races, and the idea that some other groups of people, such as the Jews and the Gypsies, are inferior and a problem. So by wearing this swastika, John is expressing these very nonsensical and genuinely racist ideas into the public space. This will then inevitably lead to a lot of criticism, coming from the other people who are also present in the public space. This means that these other people will use their right to freedom of expression to criticize, condemn and mock John. John then gets criticized and not taken seriously, until he probably chooses to stop wearing this symbol. And this is good. You can think of this mechanism as an immune system. An immune system that keeps ideas that oppose Western culture out of our public spaces and societies. Another idea that should be kept out of our public spaces and societies is the idea that women are dirty and inferior. Therefore, a woman wearing this should receive huge amounts of criticism, just like John. But this isn't happening in the name of tolerance towards minorities, which causes people to basically measure minorities with a lower standard, so they don't even expect minorities to adopt Western culture. This endangers the maintenance of Western culture, because it makes the public spaces of Western countries look very non-Western and backward. The public space is basically getting polluted with symbolism that stands for the idea that women are dirty and inferior. But some people then argue, doesn't freedom of expression also mean that backward ideas actually can be expressed publicly? Well, yeah, that's true. It is not that it should be illegal by law to wear this type of symbolism. But the thing is that by not flooding the person who wears this piece of symbolism with criticism, the very healthy mechanism which just got rid of John's swastika now doesn't work. But it actually should work. And especially feminists should worry about this. The idea that women are dirty and inferior should be infuriating feminists all over Europe and the rest of the Western world. Have the Western feminists of the last couple of centuries fought for equal treatment just to get their 21st century public space polluted with this type of anti-women symbolism? European feminists should at least spend 50% of their time criticizing and mocking this type of symbolism. Because somebody calling herself a feminist who is not spending at least 50% of her time fighting Islamic headscarves does not have the courage of her convictions. But then usually the counter argument is, why do you think it's any of your business what a woman wears? It's none of your business, especially if you're a man. Well, okay, but then that logic also applies to this lady. She can wear whatever she wants, right? I don't think that people who, in the context of the debate about Islamic headscarves, argue that a woman can wear whatever she wants, would agree that this lady here can also wear whatever she wants. The reality is that this debate is not about deciding what women wear and can't wear, but instead about political symbolism worn by either men or women. But then there are Muslim women who say, well, the original meaning might indeed be that women are inferior, but that's not my interpretation. For me, it means something different. For me, personally, it is just a traditional outfit. It makes me feel close to my roots. And I like it. Look at how beautiful it looks. Okay, so then this lady replies, exactly. For me, this swastika doesn't mean at all that Jews and black people are inferior. But for me, it just means confidence in myself. Wearing this makes me feel strong as a woman. And I also like the shape of the symbol. Look at how nice it actually looks. So if you throw a portion of such nonsense on this discussion about Islamic headscarves, anything can mean anything. The reality is that the meaning of certain political symbolism is not up for discussion and interpretation. Certain symbols simply mean certain things. Could it be that wearing this in a European country is actually a sign of failed integration? Or could it be that if you want to integrate into a society where the idea that women are dirty and inferior is considered to be an offensive idea, and you are wearing this in the public space of such a society, that you actually failed to show any respect for the native population of the society, and that you also failed to show any respect for the historical developments that the forefathers of the native population went through? In Europe, men and women are equal. This is an important part of our culture. This needs to be respected and protected. It is a result of certain historical developments that our forefathers went through. And Europe is the land of the Europeans, our land. So it is our culture, our public space, and our cultural values. And these values have to be actively defended. Not because we are racists or bigots, but simply because we respect what our forefathers gave to us, and we should be determined to protect it and to pass it onward to our children and grandchildren. That's our responsibility. This is Paul from debatetheleft.com. If you like the content, please consider supporting my work through Patreon, or feel free to check out my book. Have a nice day, everyone.